Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
Hello, inspired listeners. This is Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim here on OMTimes, the voice of consciousness. I am your co-host, Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, and I just want to say thank you for joining our Facebook page and having our inspired listening community grow to well over 1,000 people now. We are very humbled and blessed that you join us every Wisdom Wednesday here at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for a live show that covers a range of topics and guests. And today is going to be a fantastic show. Really looking forward to this because this is something I've been working on for a few years. But we're going to be talking about bringing your book forward and letting your voice be heard and how to transform writers into successful authors, and that's going to be a very interesting show. But if you want to check out any of the work that I'm doing or any of the upcoming events that I'm doing, please go to marklanehart.com. You can internet search The Intuitive Prospector. You can also find me at Best American Psychics if you're looking for readings, hikes, expos, public demonstration, workshops, or online classes and webinars. Pretty much what I like to say, spiritual prospecting for your own spiritual gold or spiritual awesomeness. Just head over to marklanehart.com. And all the way across the nation, I'm here in Seattle, Washington, in the beautiful state of Richmond, Virginia, is the lovely and talented and recently interviewed Kim Falcon, founder of Love First. Hello, my dear.
Hello, Mark, and hello to all of those inspired listeners out there. Thank you for being with us again this week and every week. As Mark said, I am the founder of my practice, Love First, and I am loving the work that I do and the people that I get to work with. My goal is always to help raise consciousness. That's, I think my guidance goal. So we work together. I think that's what they work towards, is raising consciousness. But if there's any way that I can help you on your path in the way of readings, healings, or hypnotherapy, I would love to do that. You can find me at lovefirst.info. I do have a couple of announcements. As Mark said, yes, I was interviewed yesterday. It was a really fun interview and a new way of doing it, Mark. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but YouTube Live is quite a platform and a really nice technology that they offer. It's really seamless, very nice. They partnered with Google Hangouts, so everything is kind of linked up together. And it was a really kind of fun experience, but it was done by Psychic World. You can find me on Psychic World too. I do immediate readings on their platform when I'm logged in. And if you've missed the interview and you'd like to see it, you can just look Kimberly Falcon up on YouTube, and you'll see that I'll be posting it on social media as well. We even had one caller or one person write in with a question, so it's always fun to do live readings on the spot like that too. So I had a lot of fun doing that. I do want to mention I've got a new blog post that I've written as well. It's some channeled information from the Federation of Light. And it's all about the new Earth and the direction the Earth and humanity is moving towards. They always offer a very hopeful message, reassuring us that we're moving towards a place of love, peace, balance, harmony, and all of those good things. If you'd like to see that blog post, please do check that out on my website at lovefirst.info under blogs. We also had a guest on a few months back, Gordon Asher Davidson, who also works with them, and that's why I love having him on, because he shares very Yeah, really interesting guy. Just always interesting messages, and they're here working with us now, the Federation of Light. So if you'd like to learn more, you can do that there. I will be coming back to California, as I've been saying the last couple of weeks, but the first 2 weeks in June, I will be in California. If you'd like to set up an in-person session with me in my Encino, California office, I would love to do that. I'm also going to be doing a class with my colleague, Gail Cerna, who is a psychic medium and angel channel. We're going to be doing a class together, Angelic Solutions for Your Daily Life. So if you want to know how to work through some of your daily life issues or just how to connect with your angels, we're going to be focusing on that in this class. It's going to be a 2-hour class, 7 to 9, at Be the Change Energy Center in Woodland Hills on Wednesday, June 7th. If you'd like to sign up and reserve your seat, you can do that now. Also on my website, lovefirst.info. A couple of other things. My newsletter, my April, almost May newsletter came out today. Nothing like squeezing it in at the last minute. If you would like to learn how you can win a free 15-minute reading with me, you can do that by signing up for my newsletter. You can do that on the very first page of my website. And when you sign up for the newsletter, you also receive 5 tips to start a successful day. So that's it. Just a couple of updates on my end. I look forward to the show today. I know we've got a great guest with us. If you'd like to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook under Inspired Living Radio, Twitter, and Instagram under Inspired for Us, Google+, Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. You can send through your questions and just learn about what we're up to on a weekly basis there. We do accept live calls, so call in with your questions today if you want to learn how to publish a book. We've got a great guest who can help you understand what it is you need to do. You can call in live at 202-570-7057. You can also listen to all of our archives on OMTimes Radio, Podbean, SoundCloud, marklaneheart.com, lovefirst.info, YouTube, and iTunes. I don't think there's a platform you can miss our archives. My goodness. Anyways, for the month of April, this is the last week of April, we have our inspired affirmation. I love myself in totality and I radiate energy. Back to you, Mark.
I like it. It sounds like you're getting your voice back as well. Last week you barely had a voice, but I'm glad that you're feeling better. And it's amazing how we've been doing this show for almost 2 years now, and it's just amazing how busy we are getting with traveling and workshops and tours, and it's just exciting to watch you grow and see the work that you're doing now on the east side of the United States. And last night I was in downtown Seattle at a comedy club and did spiritual mediumship at a comedy club as a whole YouTube interview done with an up-and-coming comedian here in Seattle. So that was something new and exciting to do. So just new adventures, and love doing the radio with you, Kim. And we're approaching our 100th episode of Inspired Living Radio, if you can believe that. Yeah, and like Kim said, you can find us on all sorts of different outlets. And if you want to call in, please call in. We'd love to have you engage. I just threw an Instagram video out for you to engage with as well. 202-570-7057 in the United States. If you're outside the United States, go ahead and just post that question to our Facebook page on Inspired Living Radio. We're keeping an eye on that. So let's talk about our guest here before we get to our first break. Want to welcome a special guest, Karen Stuth. From I hope I'm saying this right, Karen. I'm so bad with names, but is it Satiama? Am I saying that correctly?
It's Satiama. You got Satiama and Stuth right, so you win the huge prize for April.
Yes, I must be psychic. It's Satiama. So we're going to be going to a break here in just a few minutes, Karen. But I want you just to introduce yourself to our inspired listening community all around the world. No pressure, and just introduce what it is that you do. A little bit more about Satiama, the writing resources, and then we'll go to our first break, and then we'll come back after that break and really dive into how to bring your book forward and let your voice be heard.
That sounds great. I am Karen Stuth, the owner of Satiama.com, Satiama, Satiama.com, and Satiyama Writers Resource is a division of Sakiyama. Sakiyama and our presence online, Satiyama.com. Primarily, we are a publisher of Mind, Body, Spirit titles. We have some of the top-selling titles in their space, especially including some conscious living titles for children. Satiyama Writers Resource is a part of Satiyama, the division of our company that helps people who wish to self-publish a book, and we want to make sure that they do it correctly.
That's awesome. And where in the word Satiyama, what does that mean exactly? Does it have a meaning behind it? Just curious.
It certainly does. When my sister and I were founding Satiyama, and we started out by simply having the desire to have a spirituality blog that offered ideas that support the concept that there are as many pathways to something transcendent as there are people on the planet, and that is at our foundation who we are. And so we wanted to have a website and a blog that brought together many different ideas about spirituality, about the idea that there isn't just one way. And for that reason, we don't have things on our website that are exclusionary. So if somebody sends us an article or something that says my way of healing, my way of spirituality, my way of meditation, whatever it is the only way, that doesn't support what we believe, so we would not probably want to put that, in our blog. Do that.
Okay, well, that's perfect timing right there. Stick around, guys. We're just getting started with this show on how to bring your book forward and let your voice be heard with our very special guest, Karen Stuth from Satiyama.com. We'll be back in a few minutes on Inspired Living Radio.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Yelito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.info for more information.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
welcome back to Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim. Our very special guest, Karen Stuth from Satiama WritersResource.com. I guess it's two, right? It's Writers Resource and Satiama.com as far as the publishing goes. So a lot of different services, Karen, that you're offering: editing, illustration, production, marketing, distribution, crowdfunding. Must keep you very busy as I look through the information here. And I also want to let our inspired listeners know that we are working with Satiama.com to showcase spotlight authors coming up through the summer here of May, June, and July. We're going to be talking with three of the authors. I have the books right here in front of me. One is The Truths of Tula, a Muse and Her Artist. Apollo, the Misguided Missile. It's a story about bullying. And Hold On, Toby. It's a story of transformation and nature, and it's going to be a lot of fun to interview these three authors coming up in the summer months, and that's going to be featuring our Spotlight authors. So, Karen, welcome back to the show. Welcome to Inspired Living Radio. We'll keep an eye on, see if we get any questions for you on how to publish a book, how to self-publish, how to tell your story. Right before the break, we were talking about the meaning behind Satiama, which I think is fabulous. But let's continue the conversation.
Okay. You had asked me what the word Satiama means, and I did want to finish explaining that Satiama was actually a word that we created out of three concepts. The word Sat, which is one of the holiest words in the Sanskrit language, which is itself a sacred language. Sat means your being, your reality, your truth, your essence, your soul, the best. It refers to the ultimate reality. It's considered the self-conductor of everything. The I am presence in the middle of our word is, obviously our going sense of something transcendent springing from ourselves. It activates our co-creative power and our connection to something transcendent. And the ah sound, which appears three times in our name, is the heart chakra sound, one of the true vocalized sounds. And it's actually the first sound you make when you're born, the ah sound. And it is part of nearly every form or name of God or divinity. If you think about it, God, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Yahweh, Yeshua, Ekangar, they all have the ah sound, the heart chakra sound, which appears three times in our name. So it was purpose-built. That's the long answer to your question.
I like it. I always like to, in talking with people, I always like to see the meanings behind their names and how they came up with them. I didn't think about that. The first word you say when you're born is ah. It makes a lot of sense as far as the vibrational tone of that. So let's talk about, let's get into how to write a book. For me, I've been working on my own book for a few years now. I seem to have writer's block, or I'm always distracted by something else, or just, trying to sit down and write. What are some of the first things that you would recommend in doing this work for a up-and-coming writer to, kind of the basics? Where do you start with writing a book? How does that all come together?
Well, that is a simply excellent question. And one of the first things that I have writers do that come to me and they haven't completed a manuscript, or even if they have completed a manuscript, is I ask them to sit down and write 5 sentences about what their book is about or what they want their book to be about, because a lot of people simply cannot articulate that. They sit down and they begin to write perhaps in an autobiographical format, and there's, certainly nothing wrong with that, but they're not really sure where they're going. I think that they think by writing that the end will appear, and sometimes it does, but it is good to know why you want to write or tell your story, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be autobiographical at all, or even biographical. It can be poetry, it can be journaling, it can be a work of fiction that contains the ideas that you want to put forward. But it's good to have those 5 sentences to keep referring back to when you're writing as your goalposts, and sometimes they will change as you go along, and that's okay. But, that's your mission statement. It would be good to have it like up on a wall somewhere, on one of those great big Post-it notes, to keep in mind why you're doing this, where you want to go with your story. When people have writer's block, it is generally because they don't have a plan. They don't know where they're going. They don't know why they're doing it. So it's amazing how just putting down those 5 sentences can bring enormous clarity and kind of clear the decks for you to begin to write again.
So I'm getting a question here from one of our inspired listeners that's listening live. Just give them a shout out for the question. They're saying, what do you mean by autobiography format? What would you mean by that?
Well, an autobiographical format is clearly telling your own story. And I have lots of authors I'm working with that have autobiographical material. Perhaps they're telling their story about their journey through grief. One woman that I'm working with became a medium through her grief experience after losing her husband. Some people write about their recovery from abuse. Other people simply write about their own life experience, because your own life experience, your own story does have much meaning, and it means something to somebody else out there, that we all have a story to tell just from our own lives, whether you tell it from an autobiographical format, from the I format, the I presence.
So the in first person format is what you're saying, in the first person?
Right, or you're telling it as a biography, through a fictional character.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks to our inspired listener for that question. That's a good question. Writing in first person or writing in third person, that's a great starting point. And then also just those 5 sentences and making a plan. So what it sounds like is I need to make a plan on where I'm going, because I do have a fantastic story to tell. Just trying to get everything lined up on how to tell that.
Yes, absolutely. And, the other thing is write every day. Write every day. Even if you don't work on your manuscript, write every day. It keeps the wheels greased for your own writing style and ability. You'll become a better and better writer simply by journaling. You don't need to write a lot every day, but you do need to write something every day, even if it's only what happened that day, or what happened yesterday, or something that happened that you're just now getting, clarity around. That is such an important process. I really cannot emphasize it enough. Everybody that wants to write should be writing every day.
And Karen, what would you say? Are there topics that people are starting to trend more towards today, or want to learn more about? Are there specific areas of interest that you're seeing a growth in, or do people not have a preference as long as they're interested in something? I mean, is it? I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly. Sorry, but are there certain topics that people tend to gravitate more towards reading?
Well, in the Mind, Body, Spirit marketplace, book marketplace, or it could be card decks, or it could be a number of different products or ways to get your voice out there. But, in the Mind, Body, Spirit sector, if you will, there are, definitely some classic things that people tend to write about a lot. But most people are writing about their journey, or they're writing about tools they have found or discovered or solidified or crystallized that helped them down their path, that they believe can help other people down their path. And that is probably the core of 90% of Mind, Body, Spirit literature that is out there, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It is about transformation and transcendence.
But is it enough just to tell, so when you say people are writing about their own journey, when you say that, do you mean how they opened up into their own awareness, or what might that
be? That Yeah, it could be,
okay.
How they got from point A to point M or P or Q.
Okay.
You know, I don't know that we're never done with our journey, but it could be, you know, writing about something that occurred in their life that caused them to move down their path, or something that they discovered, or a set of techniques, or it could be just a different spin on something that is, you know, something that we all know about, like meditation, for example. Perhaps they have developed a new way to help people learn to meditate, especially among people that say, I can't meditate. We all know a lot of people like that. And so perhaps they have developed something new, you know, a new way to meditate. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Well, and for those of us who do meditate, who can meditate, sometimes it's even hard to meditate. Right?
It really is. And we're all open to something new all the time. Yes, absolutely. But I think that, you know, people that have had, you know, life experiences that are different or unusual, or they've been through terrible tragedy, or they have survived abuse or something like that, and they did, in particular, learn or develop spiritual tools as a part of that. That is the kind of topic that I most often see presented to us for assistance. And we also see lots and lots of children's books. We're rather known for our children's books because we've had such huge success in that area. And conscious parenting and, you know, conscious kids, that is.
And Karen, hold that thought. That is our cue. We're going to our break here. We will be back in 2 minutes as we continue this conversation about Satiama, all the wonderful work they're doing, and particularly if you are an aspiring author, this is a good time to listen and to ask questions. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
America's service members and veterans are strong, forged out of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. Sometimes reaching out for help can be the most challenging and worthwhile mission of all. When you recognize something isn't right, make the call to the Veterans Crisis Line or Military Crisis Line. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim, and our special guest today, Karen, who is co-owner of Satiama Publishing. And thank you for being with us, Karen. Thank you for our listening audience for being with us. So before we went to break, of course, we were talking a little bit about the topics that people choose to write about, and how you were saying how your children's books and conscious parenting, that I could see that being really of interest out there. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on in the conscious parenting world, what it means to be a conscious parent.
Well, I don't want to get too far off course with that subject, because I'm going to bring you one of my authors who's an expert on that subject, and he's going to talk about that with you for a whole hour. So,
excellent.
Conscious parenting and, conscious kids is a thing we could talk about for 3 or 4 hours. But it is, an area in which we receive a lot of manuscripts, and we do publish in that area as one of our specialties. But on the Satiama Writers Resource side, we take a look at just about any manuscript, but we tend to elect only to work with people that have mind, body, spirit properties, that because that is our expertise, because we have strong relationships in that marketplace. And the thing that we offer authors that come to us is pretty much a soup to nuts offering, starting with helping them to complete their manuscripts, reviewing manuscripts, doing the 7 types of editing. We also do the final proofreading. We set up the book so the printing files are ready. We can help the author get it illustrated. We help to choose a printer, and I do steer people away from print on demand. And when people come to me that already have a print on demand contract, I pretty much can't work with them, because their contract is preempted everything. We also help people with crowdfunding to raise money to put the money together so they can print and market their book and bring it forward in a self-published paradigm. We also do complete soup to nuts marketing, all types of book marketing and public relations, and we offer distribution and even storage. So we are a complete turnkey, full-service publishing consultancy, rather different than some of the other offerings out there.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to having some of your other authors on our show, and I do think that conscious parenting is going to be a very interesting topic for a lot of people out there. But when you talk about, I mean, my goodness, you certainly did go through a full list of offerings that you make available to the authors that you work with. Is that different than other places people might be looking at, or is that how is that different, or what I guess, what do the authors, I guess, if they're thinking about going with another publishing company, what would be different than, with the offering that why would they want to come work with you? Although, I mean, from that list you gave me, it sounds like there's nothing more to think about, but just to help people understand.
Well, let me distinguish clearly between Satiama Publishing and Satiama Writers Resource. And today I'm here to talk about Satiama Writers Resource, but Satiama Publishing is the parent company, and we do publish as a mainstream publisher certain properties that we really like, and we decide we're going to put our own money into that and bring it to market. And because we have been enormously successful in that, especially in the mind, body, spirit marketplace, we did start Satiama Writers Resource to help people, self-publishers, to get their book out there and to do it right without catching their foot in some of the traps that are out there waiting for people that want to self-publish. And because we were disturbed by that and some of the things that were occurring out there, we did start this division to help people who are self-publishing. So, that is a different part of our company than Satiama Publishing. So if they come to us and want to work with Satiama Writers Resource, then they can apply. They can send us a manuscript or a piece of a manuscript for us to take a look at, and then we'll, begin a conversation with them to, talk about where they are in their process and what services they might need. There are many, 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 many people out there on the internet that work as publishing consultants, and they most often offer a huge series of webinars, and they'll sell book downloads and all kinds of packaged services that are compartmentalized, but very few of them will work with an author soup to nuts, helping them to finish their manuscript, helping them to get it published the right way, to help them find the money to do the thing they need to do, to get them tapped into the mind, body, spirit marketplace in a way that's meaningful. And so they're seen among the million or so self-publishers that are out there now. Self-publishing is one of the most growing industries in the U.S., and because of that, you see a lot of services, people saying, well, we'll do this or we'll do that, or even companies saying we are publishers, and technically they are. They will take a property into their catalog and they'll print some copies, but they may not go any farther than that. So the book is never really seen and it doesn't really sell. What they're really selling are printing services. And so I try to help people to walk through the different offerings that they're looking at, and whether they choose this or not doesn't really matter to us. What is important to me is to make sure that they get integrity in the process no matter who they're working with. And that's what is the core of what we do.
Okay. Well, wow. Okay. Having no background in this area at all myself, it feels like there is an awful lot to consider and to know about and to look into and be aware of for those people out there that are looking to get their own book out there. So, I mean, what are some of the mistakes that people might make along the way?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me that because it's such a big question, but it's so important. I think, there's a set of mistakes. So the first is that people believe that their book is finished when it may not really be. They may need another whole series of edits. They may need to write more. They may need to cut their book down to make it consumable and interesting, and to get their point across. Most often I find that, people, if they trim their manuscript down, then it really becomes robust. So there is the issue of whether the book is really ready to be published. The titling, that's a place where people make a lot of mistakes, that the title is not inviting or explanatory, or it's very close to another title out there, or there's something about it that wouldn't make you cross a bookstore to go and pick it up. The third would be illustration or cover design. That is another place where, people frequently stub their toe. The fourth is in, getting into a print-on-demand contract, not really understanding what they're signing up for. And some print-on-demand services actually will assign the ISBN, and now they own the property and not the self-publisher. And it's very difficult for the self-publisher to even buy their own book at a rate that allows them to wholesale it to stores. So they get sort of caught in a narrow channel. There's a lot of, there's a whole bunch of that going on.
No, that sounds ugly.
Print-on-demand books, I can easily spot them from, a mile away. Sometimes the margins are too small, and the paper's not very nice, and the binding isn't great. I'm not talking about every print-on-demand services, but quite a few. And so I've had a lot of librarians tell me over the years, if it looks like print-on-demand, we won't carry it because it won't last in our collection. and we know that nobody has really made an editorial pass through it, so, the quality feels dubious. And so these are all things that, you want to be careful about because, you've put all your heart and soul into writing your book, and you don't want to mess up then just trying to get it printed. And a lot of people think that, I think another mistake is bringing the book out in ebook format at the same time that you bring out the print. No matter what you read or hear, I've only seen print or ebook cannibalize the print book when they're brought out nearly concurrently. So if people have a choice, they're going to print a less expensive, or they're going to pick the less expensive format, and you're not going to sell too many print books after that. I think another mistake is not really understanding what it takes to market the book and how much of the author's time is really involved in that. And I think a final mistake would be in not understanding if you want to go to a big publishing house and have them pick up your book, what's really required there. That most publishing houses now, and that the major publishers in the world have bought each other up, and they, there are kind of, 5 left standing, and they have different imprints. But there's only a few people now that are doing the editorial evaluation of manuscripts. So your manuscript is likely on somebody's desk with maybe, 10,000 other manuscripts. And so even if
that doesn't feel good.
It does feel good, but, they're also looking for that author who already has a presence.
And Karen, just one moment there. That is our lead into our final break here. So stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes as we continue our conversation with Karen and Satiama. Be back in 2.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Join me, Tammy Adams, intuitive life coach and spiritual healer, for my new show, Karma Talk. Learn how to get rid of your karma so that you can start living the life you are meant to live. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Join me on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Karma Talks on OMTime Radio.
I'm Fidel Samba. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our guest Karen, as we talk about Satiama and all the ways that they help writers and authors move into published work. So, Karen, before we went into break, you were talking about the many different mistakes that people can make in this process. And one of them you were talking about was, well, you were talking about the larger publishing houses. I mean, where there's 10,000 scripts on the table that you're competing with? That's not a very good feeling. If you're trying to get your book published, do they when you're working with first of all, do the even larger publishing houses, do they even are they interested in mind, body, spirit stuff? That's one question. The other thing is, when you work with somebody that size, do you even have control over the content, full control over the content of your book, or do they change it in a way that they feel is going to appeal to the masses?
Well, I can't say what each of the big publishing houses do with manuscripts. I know that some of them do more content revision than others. But, your first question, are people publishing mind, body, spirit titles? Absolutely. And there are some wonderful, wonderful publishing companies out there that really focus on mind, body, spirit. I probably can't say them all, but of course, there's Hay House, there's Schiffer, there's Red Wheel, there's Llewellyn, there's DeVore's. There's a lot of really wonderful publishers out there that, primarily are mind, body, spirit. But the thing that I want people to know is that if you self-publish your book, that doesn't mean you're not going to get a deal later with a big publishing house. In fact, it can increase your chances if you can demonstrate that your book has legs. But the other thing you have to demonstrate is your willingness and ability to participate in your own marketing, including bringing a fairly substantial social media presence. So the author with 60,000 people following them on Facebook is of far more interest to an editor at a big publishing house than someone who's not on Facebook at all. And there are self-published books out there that have been purchased and are making a big splash. A famous example of that, not in the mind, body, spirit industry, but a famous example of a self-published book that got picked up was 50 Shades of Grey. And, that was a self-published book, but it did so well, and the author did such a good job of self-marketing. And I think that person worked with a publishing consultant as well, like what we do, to really grow their presence out there. And they did get a big book deal. And that does happen, not as infrequently as you might think. It actually happens a lot.
And what I like about the
Please go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Karen. Oh, I was just going to say what I love about the 50 Shades of Grey book is how she wrote it on the bus on her way to work and then self-published. So that's a nice backstory.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And one of the things that's great about that story is that it points to the importance of not being so emotionally invested in your book that you aren't open to changes, that you aren't open to revisions, that you can't do the woodshedding that is, often an important part of the process. And there's a famous quote out there, but I tried to find who said this the other day and I couldn't. If anybody that is listening knows who said this, I'd love to get the reference. But someone said that if you want to write a book, first knit a sweater. And I totally understood that quote because I'm a knitter myself, although I'm a really terrible knitter. But I do understand that that knitters are used to tearing back their work, even starting over again when they see a mistake that they didn't see, down on that fifth row. Okay. And, so you're willing to tear back to fix it, to go back and just go to that place and build your knitting again. Writing a book is very similar to that. Very similar.
Okay. Interesting. Well, that's why I do radio, Karen, because I get to learn all sorts of things, including knitting. I didn't know that you had to back things out as far as where you were going with the quote, but it makes sense now that you've explained it. So we're in the last section of the show. It goes by so quick, and I was just just thinking about the show. And we've been working with you for a while now. One of our first shows, I was just thinking about this. This just dawned on me, Kim, and I don't know if you knew this, but we had Susan on about a year ago when we were just getting started, and I still love that book. I still have it on my shelf on how the trees got their voices. Because I'm so big into nature, and it just dawned on me that we had her on our show. I think she was one of the first guest authors that we had on Inspired Living Radio. I can't remember the time frame, but geez, just how the time flies by and how the trees got their voices. Fun book to check out. And we're going to have more fun authors and writers on. Satiama talking about their books, and we'll get into their backstory and how they put the books together. Maybe one of them was on a bus writing their story, and 5 years from now we'll see it be made into a movie. I mean, it never surprises me with the stuff that goes on. But as far as the resources, myself, I find this very interesting. And like Kim, it's not something I know a lot about. And I think you said, Karen, there was over 1 million self-publishing companies out there. That's a lot. So just to kind of recap for our inspired listeners, one is to write daily. Now, when you say write daily, do you mean I do a lot of positive posting through social media. Does that count?
Well, I'm talking about really sitting down and letting what's inside you flow out onto the paper. Some people call that writer's barf, where you're just sort of like throwing up on paper, but that's a very important process to just get it out there without worrying about your grammar, your style, where it's going, how does it fit into everything else. You're just writing what's there at the moment, and that keeps the writing machine flowing for you, and it actually will make you a better writer. So I'm talking about journaling.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I was trying to, skate out of that. So writing daily, and then the planning process of writing the 5 things down of the manuscript. For our inspired listeners out there, what would be the next step now in this process? They've got something on paper. They've got a rough draft manuscript. How could they contact you, and what would be those next steps for these up-and-coming writers like myself?
Well, they should go to our specialized website at SatiamaWritersResource.com. SATIAMA is Satiama Writers Resource, or they can go to Satiyama.com, and there is a link on that site over to Satiama Writers Resource, and they will find our emails and telephone numbers to give us a call or send us an email. And we do like for people to call us instead of just sending manuscripts, that we want to talk to them first about whether we're even the right service for them to consider. And, once we have a conversation with them and then look at a piece of their manuscript that they either mailed or emailed, then we'll set up a phone call with them to talk about where they're at in their process and how we can help. And if we're not right for them, I will refer them to the place or person that I think is right for them.
So again, one more time for the email, if you want to put the phone number out there. We do have all this information as well posted on the Inspired Living Radio Facebook page and our social media pages if you want to check those out. But do you want to share the phone number out with folks as far as having them call you directly?
Absolutely. Yes, they can call us at area code 719-487-0424. That's 719-487-0424.
Perfect. And I know as I was listening to you speak about all the services that you offer, pretty much taking, a customized set of services from the manuscript, the editing, the production, the marketing, the distribution, of somebody on their writing journey. At some point in the back of your mind, I know it jumped into my brain, the cost associated with that. You talked about raising money as well and assisting people to raise money. Is this something that tends to be a very expensive project for somebody that's maybe not making a lot of money as an up-and-coming writer? Is it something that's affordable, or is the crowdsourcing to raise money the option to help pay for the services?
Well, generally people need crowdfunding to pay for the printing, unless they're just, planning on printing maybe 1,000. But, when you get up to 2,500 or more, you're entering the sweet spot of affordability for printing just about anything. And so people frequently want to take advantage of, being able to get their book printed in that, lower price range. It gives them a bigger margin. And so they do want to run a crowdfunding program to help them foot the bill for that. As far as our fees, they're very customized depending on the book and the property and how much work is going to be involved, and we do allow people to make monthly payments, so they don't have to have a big lump sum at the beginning. So we're very flexible in that way. We're literally passionate about doing this work. I just love working with all my authors. We have a pretty large number that we're working with now. And, to me, there's nothing more meaningful than that, to help people bring their voice forward, to tell their story. And it is part of their soul journey. So it's an honor to be a part of that process with them.
Fantastic, and I love that you do payment options. And, Karen, thank you so much for just sharing your knowledge and the journey of, bringing a book forward and letting somebody's voice be heard and be willing to work with them. Again, check out Satiama.com. You can talk with Karen. You can visit our Facebook page and get all the links right off the Inspired Living Radio page. Just want to say thank you for being our special guest today. We look forward to having the Spotlight authors back on the show. Next week's guest is Deborah Livingston, spiritual medium, British trained from Boston, Massachusetts. Again, thanks, Karen, and have a great week. Talk to you next week. So then, here,